This is Smiling Sam Alvey, and you're listening to the MMA Think Tank.
You are listening to MMA Think Tank with Jay and Mike.
All right, Mike, we're back, and can we just call this night of fights the night of the upsets?
Yeah, this is one of those fight nights. We're talking about UFC on Fox 23, where I certainly thought that the fighters that won could do it. I just didn't think they would.
Yeah, unfortunately, for some of our favorites, they didn't win tonight. So we're gonna have to talk about that. So let's get into
Fight Rewind.
The first fight here. I guess we'll talk about the big one. Let's talk about Pena versus Shevchenko.
Yeah, it was a pretty good fight, to be honest with you, except for the first round was a little slow, but mostly clinch work, knees against the fence were good knees by Pena. I knew she was taken down twice, but first time she was taken down, she got right back up. Second time she got taken down, she was down there a little bit, but Jay, I actually gave that round to Pena because she was attacking off her back and did more. But you know what? That didn't matter. None of that matters because in round two she got armbarred after getting a nice takedown of her own and being in her world, in Pena world, and
yep.
Shevchenko just flipped it over and got a great armbar, and she's an amazing fighter.
Okay, yeah. So Shevchenko definitely moves up several notches in my book. I didn't think she had a ground game, Mike. So I'm surprised. This girl's got a ground game because Pena's no joke on the ground.
Yeah, and I knew she had a top game on the ground, but not the bottom like that for sure. I mean, she took Holly Holm down, and she rode Holly Holm for a little bit, landing some punches, some elbows. I shouldn't say ride. That kind of sounds like she didn't do much, but I knew she had that on top. But that's against Holly Holm. That's not somebody who's not a great grappler that Pena is. And I look at it as this is, basically Shevchenko is really her coming out party. They say it was against Holm, but we'll get into Holm a little later, of course, as well when we do the We Pick 'em. But this was really shows that she truly is a mixed martial artist, not just a striker. Heck of a nice, great young lady. The face-off with Nunes was kind of weird. Did you? Do you remember seeing that? Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that I had Pena winning this fight no matter what, and man, I was wrong. And I'm gonna definitely. I'm going to give Shevchenko her props and say that she's definitely got a ground game. And, man, look out. That division is getting better and better.
Yeah, and right now I am picking Shevchenko to beat Nunes. That's just right now, people, simply because, she did lose in Nunes, but she did well in that third round, goes 5 rounds. She might have beat Nunes. I realized that both fighters were training for 3 rounds. So, that's a little difference there. I realize that. But right now I'm going to go with Shevchenko. That's one way down the line. Obviously, we can change our minds at any point until
definitely.
Show. But what do you think? What are your initial thoughts?
Nunes.
Still Nunes, yeah.
Yeah. She's just a tougher all-around fighter, I think. She's just got I think she hits harder than Shevchenko, but I'm not going to count her out, though. Don't get me wrong.
No, I realize, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to count her out. She put on a great performance tonight, so it's going to be a hell of a fight.
This is something also that, being that we're both Pena fans, this is something that, you don't ever want somebody to get their first loss, but at least this is something that, she beat Kat Zingano. She was looking good in the second round, was certainly in the first round, no matter who you called it for. Got reversed, got a really nasty armbar put on her, a slick move by Shevchenko. Pena is still one of the better people in that division for sure. But this is, just going to, I think, make her a little more hungry. And maybe in a couple wins, she gets back to the top. Because you don't just, do what you did to Kat Zingano and then almost look like you're going to be getting maybe a decision win possibly in this fight. Because once she took Shevchenko down, she was in a world of hurt for a little bit until the armbar. But I digress, man. Props to Shevchenko. I told Christy when we were watching the fights, I said, you know what? I said, at least I like this person. She's a good person at heart and a really nice young lady, and she really brings it in the cage.
Most
Unlike
definitely.
somebody they'll talk about later. I don't like.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. I agree with that 100%. You're right on the money. Shevchenko is definitely somebody you can get behind her. And, you know, and really, if she does end up beating Nunes, she's a great champ. So either way, we've got a good champ. In that position.
And that's what Nunes is certainly as well. You know, she's also the same type of person.
Yeah.
Jay, I don't have much more to say on this unless you got something to go on. Yeah. Well, I guess let's just say, you know, we know where Shevchenko's going. Do you got a name for Pena, or just hey, let's just see what happens?
I think we'll just see what happens. Right now, she's definitely going to need to just take some time off. Think about it.
Yeah, I certainly hope they give her somebody that she will be able to beat for sure. I don't have a name right now, guys, but somebody that, you know, she comes in and just, you know, make sure that she gets back on track. Now, I kind of alluded to somebody I think is a great fighter I don't like, and that's someone I've always given props to as the best unranked fighter in the UFC, and that's Jorge Masvidal. And that's because he was talking so much crap this week, and we haven't heard a lot of his interviews. Heck of a fighter, one of the best fighters, like I said. I didn't really like a lot of his antics, but he took it to Cowboy. I was really worried about this fight for our boy Cowboy Jay because it reminded me a little bit of the Nate Diaz thing here. A tough-talking guy who doesn't put up with crap, a great striker. But as I said in the last, I'm not going to say, you know, I'm not trying to backtrack. I did say in the last podcast that I believe in Cowboy. I believe in what he's doing, where it's going. And Cowboy let me down a little bit today. Not that he should care about letting me down. He's a great fighter. I'm going to get up and go to work the next day, and so is he. But I knew this could happen, but I just really didn't want to see it happening. And but I still thought Cowboy would win.
Yeah, I also thought Cowboy would win this fight too, Mike. But I think I also said in the last podcast, you can't sleep on Masvidal. You know, he is one of the best fighters that's unranked. And now, I don't know. He should be ranked now, right?
Yeah, he's certainly got his due. You know, I mean, coming in, he was ranked number 12. But when I always say unranked, I mean someone who's not in the top 10.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
places do a top 15, some do a top 20. I'm not fooling around with that stuff.
Yeah, we just talk about the top 10. You know, when we say ranked, it's top 10.
I will say this though, because I did allude to the Diaz fight. Is that you know, Cowboy didn't do what he did in the Diaz fight. He didn't kind of shut down. He was throwing great punches, leg kicks. He was in the fight. It was just that Masvidal actually, you know, he actually turned on the gas and took it to him. If he were to fight 10 times, you know, it could be 5-5 or 4-6, depending on, you know, either way. So I don't think that Masvidal has Cowboy's number. But for me, though, I just think that this is kind of where Masvidal is going to end. I really do. I think that if you put him in against, you know, if he fights strikers, tough guys, yeah, that's fine. But once he gets to the top 5 and takes on a wrestler or BJJ ace like Damian Maia, and I hate to jump in this far because the guy just got ranked in my opinion, but if he fights you know, a Wonder Boy who's way better striker, unorthodox, he fights Damian Maia who's a slick BJJ ace or a wrestler, he's going to get finished, probably. But big ups to him.
Yeah, no. He was the victor tonight. He did his thing, and he looked great. Really put it on, Cowboy, and I like the way you described it. He turned on the gas. It definitely did that. He just was the better man tonight. And like you said, I think if they were to fight again, it could be anybody's win that night. So it's not like he has his number. You're exactly correct. I hate to sit here and mimic everything you said, but you said it all, and you said it great. So I don't know. So what do you think's next for Cowboy?
You know, I don't know. Man, I always want to take a break here and there, but he just fought last week. Yeah. I'm sorry, not last week, but last may as well be last week.
Last month.
Yeah. So maybe he, you Jay, what bothers me the most too here is that he really wanted to get this title shot. He's never cared about the title. At least he's never said he has. He just wants to get in there and fight, kick some butt, not his words, mine, kick some butt and drink a Budweiser or whatever. And he's always said that. And now he wanted to go for the title. He was so close. I wanted that story of him becoming a welterweight champ after he finally wants it. And that's not down the drain. But I think Cowboy, much like Pena, they need to reel him back a little bit, give him some guys he can beat, and push him up the welterweight ladder again.
Yeah. So do you think what do you think's next for Masvidal then? Do you think he's going to be looking towards a title shot now, or?
Well, he certainly kind of wants one, but he's mostly right now. But that's.
I don't think he should get one right now per se. I'm just saying maybe a couple of more wins.
Well, no, he's one of those guys now that just wants the money fights. Conor McGregor has opened up, a box of stupidity. I mean, everybody's not Conor McGregor, and now everybody wants to fight, just for money, or they just want to fight. Well, they're prize fighters. I understand he wants to fight for money, but they. Well,
who's he going to fight for the money? I mean,
Nick Diaz of course came up because Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz. Well, as far as I know, weed is still illegal in the sport, and Nick Diaz is all over Instagram smoking weed. So Nick Diaz won't be fighting in the UFC.
It is going to be changed soon, it looks like, at least in Nevada. But
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. If I throw some names out right now for at welterweight, you got somebody like Dong Young Kim. Look, I'm not going to put him up against Wonder Boy or Robbie Lawler or Damian Maia, but after that, you've got Carlos Condit. And then, Cerrone was number 5. Lorenzo Larkin, he's, still in limbo. Nobody's signed him yet. The UFC hasn't signed him yet. He's on his, he decided to fight out his contract. But a Neil Magny fight looks good. A Dong Young Kim fight looks good. I like those two names, Jay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. And real fast, not going to get into it, but I just want to say, for all those weed smokers out there, I'm not just kind of downing that situation that you got going on. If you like your weed, that's fine. But the thing is, if they're going to legalize it finally, because I thought it was a stupid rule anyway, but I'm just saying, if it's in there, he's not going to fight because he's still smoking. That's all.
Yeah, all you weed smokers up there, I think you're. No, I'm just kidding. I actually agree with Jay. Even though I don't smoke weed myself, it's a stupid rule. It's legalized all over the world.
Yeah.
Excuse me, all over the country, people. So, like it or not, it's it shouldn't matter.
Exactly.
But that's who I'd say, man. I'm going with something like Dong Young Kim or Neil Magny. So, but we don't know what's going to happen, man. The next 2 or 3 months.
Oh no, and you're 100% right about that, Mike. We don't know what's going to happen because the UFC with their new owners, it's just been wacky. Is all I could describe lately. With all the interim belts and bull crap going on now, it's really upsetting. On the one hand, we're getting good fights, but on the other, it's sort of turning semi-professional wrestling.
There's something I've been doing lately, and I haven't told you about it, but you feel free to pick this up if you like, or anybody out there. Whenever something weird like this happens, I just go, WMI. I just can't take it. It's just so odd. Even right now, you've got Conor McGregor, who just had some press conference and called out the UFC, and he's going to box Mayweather no matter what, and he hasn't defended the title, and, I don't know.
Yeah, how can he box him no matter what when he's under a contract, a fighting contract? So, you know what, McGregor, you're going to do what you're going to do, and just don't do anything stupid.
to me, I don't want this to go over to Conor McGregor, which
no.
He has that power, I realize. But to me, it just takes away from him as a great fighter and a great mixed martial artist.
And it takes away from the sport in general, Mike. It really does. It hurts. Let's go ahead and move on to somebody that did pan out for us tonight. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou. I've been saying that for at least the last few
yes,
podcasts.
You have.
And I didn't write him up yet, except for in the fight week the fight week preview for this week. So I did write a little bit of him, but I've been wanting to put him up for my ladder climber or whatever for a while. He's the real deal. I don't know what's going to happen against a wrestler, but anybody else, he's smashing.
Yeah, I agree, man. He really impressed me tonight. I just thought that That round 1 TKO was just perfect, Mike.
It reminded me a little bit of when Fedor knocked out Arlovsky too. Just kind of lifted him up a little bit, and that, I mean, that was a nice combination that I didn't even see because of the angle. I really just saw the second punch hit, but man, the guy is just phenomenal. The guy just seems like a good dude in general, outside the cage and in interviews. The guy's learning English, which is important, people. I don't mean that because, English is the greatest language in the world and we're in America, but we're in America. And if you can speak English, you connect more with the fans and you're going to get more money and you're going to do better. And that's just how it is.
That's enough trumping out of you. So let's go.
Now, you know what? I know you're making a joke, but I want to bring something else up, which is kind of funny. If anybody watched the post-fight press conference, when Masvidal came in to take the questions, he said, just like our commander-in-chief, I'm going to tell you right now, some of y'all out there are some fake news. And if I call on you, I'm going to say fake news, and I'm going to go to somebody else. And he did it. He said, nope, you're fake news. Next person.
I didn't see
MMA,
that.
He goes, MMA junkie, you're up.
That's funny. Anyway. Yeah. So, so Ngannou is on the road to a title shot pretty soon. I would think. I mean, because it's not a big division. It's not stacked. So I think that maybe a fight or two, and he's going to be there.
Yeah, he was riding in a little bit behind with of Derek Lewis. I think he knocks out Derek Lewis. I'd love to see that fight just because they're both great knockout artists.
Yeah.
But beating Arlovsky, Ngannou beating Arlovsky is better than Lewis beating Big Country.
Yeah.
So I think Ngannou's got the inside track now.
As much as I like Lewis, I think Ngannou is more athletic, if that makes any sense to you. I just think he's a bit faster. He's a bit stronger. I think he can knock him out too.
Now, Jay, I want to give you a chance to bring that back if you like, because according to Tyron Woodley, you can't call a black fighter athletic. So, I just want to let you know about that. Even though I know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
Because you know what, Tyron, you're an idiot. Because I think that Stipe Miocic is athletic, and I call him that because he's more athletic than most of the fighters he fights.
Mm-hmm. So what is that, like sort of a racist thing he's trying to get at?
Yeah, early on in the UFC, some people would call there wasn't a lot of black fighters. I realize there's not a lot of African American fighters now compared to Brazilian black fighters and so on. But somebody like Melvin Gillard was considered athletic. Rashad Evans is something they would do, and I certainly understand where he's coming from. But I think we've moved past that over the last 10 years.
And you and I have lived in a very diverse neighborhood for many, many, many years. And
where we were the minority.
Exactly. And you know what? There's no racist bone in our bodies. So I guarantee you, Mike, you and I have probably grown up in a meaner neighborhood than Woodley has. Probably.
It's certainly possible, especially as two white guys. It wasn't easy for us, but I mean, I will go back and say what you say by athletic, and I think what I see is that the guy's a specimen. And maybe I'm not supposed to say that too. I don't know, Tyron. You haven't told me yet what I'm supposed to say or not. But and by the way, I love Tyron Woodley. I just wish he'd stop saying stupid things.
Yeah.
But anyway, to get back, sorry guys out there. It's to get back. Basically, Ngannou is more in shape. He's more powerful. He moves better. I mean, Lewis is doing it based off of just raw talent.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at with Ngannou. Yeah. He's athletic. Sorry, there's no other way to put it. The guys, I say the same thing about guys that are white, Chinese. It doesn't matter what culture or background, ethnicity they are. So,
GSP was athletic.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's not get too deep into that.
Yeah.
So, what do you got next, Mike? We want to go with Alex Caceres, Jason Knight. We want to talk about that.
Yeah, just real quick. Jason Knight, he opened up the show. Jay, I didn't know this guy, and if you guys out there knew him, I bet you didn't. If you did, though, good call. He looked great against Alex Caceres. His grappling was amazing. Look, Alex Caceres is not the greatest fighter in the world. I think he's like 12-9 or something like that. No, but
why do they keep pushing him like he's going to be something? Do you notice that about the UFC with Caceres? They're always putting him on main cards, and every now and then, it seems like every 6 months he's on a main card.
Yeah, I think it's because of his whole, Bruce Leroy mentality and his flashiness and his fun style. I think that's maybe part of it. It could be that this time, being in Denver, they were close to where because he's out of not Duke Roufus, but where Benson Henderson's out of, in Arizona. So it could be that he was close to there. So the UFC tries to get stars that people know. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was just his last fight was against Yair Rodriguez. He put up a good fight. But Jason Knight, his grappling was amazing. I mean, he got a performance bonus. He got the rear naked choke on Caceres, which is great. If you guys fast forward through this or whatever, you just went through the fights, go back, watch his interview. His dad had died like a year before this. It was the anniversary or something like that. And basically, he asked for the mic from Brian Stan, and he got on his hands and knees and he prayed to God, about his dad. And it gave me tears, bro. As a Christian, this guy's a Christian. The guy's tailor-made for me. He's a fan. He's a Christian, a grappler. And dude, he's a hillbilly. He even says it. He's a hillbilly from Mississippi. Half my family, Jay knows this. Some people know this. Half my family's hillbilly anyway. So it's basically tailor-made for me. So
yeah. I definitely can see that. I didn't catch that yet, so I'll have to go back and look at that.
And by the way, sorry, Jay, whether you're a Christian or a believer in God or anything like that, it was just a very, great thing to see a guy,
definitely.
the emotions he gave about it and stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely. Anybody can respect somebody losing a father and giving respect and everything. So
exactly.
That's awesome. Sam Alvey, he's another one that did it for us, Mike.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen halfway through the fight, but it certainly looked like it was going to happen, even though I wasn't sure. Happy we picked him. Happy he won 29-28. Alvey, Nate Marquardt, is he ready to go? Jay, is he just going to stick around on Fight Night cards?
No, man, I wish him well. Whatever he chooses to do, I'm not going to tell him to retire or anything. He might stick around for that, but I wish him well.
Yeah, I like Nate Marquardt still.
He's a good guy.
He's going to stick around on Fight Night cards. Sam Alvey, though, I think we have a discussion on our hand. And I realize this is the prelims. They're doing a couple fights here on the prelims, but
Sam
Alvey's 4 in a row.
Yeah, 4.
But I wish he would go for it a little more. I wish he would. There's a couple times where he blitzed Marquardt, and I just kind of wish he would do that more because I think he holds back a little too much.
Yeah, I agree. Sam, next time we get you on the podcast, we're going to pick your brain a little bit there on your fighting. And I'm not questioning your fight style, buddy, but we're going to ask you more about that because we both see that, and I'm sure the rest of the people out there see it as well if we do.
Yeah, I mean, even Brian Stan, or it might be John Anik, who was doing the fights tonight. They even said that's pretty much what you get with Sam Alvey. He does that, and it's great when he knocks you out. And if he doesn't, it's going to be might a little bit of ho hum, but he'll get the win or he'll lose. But he rarely ever gets knocked out or finished. Last time he was knocked out was by Derek Brunson. I know that was about 5 fights ago, I guess. So it doesn't happen very often. Yeah,
no, it doesn't. So. Mike, anything else you want to talk about on this card, or you want to move on to Bellator?
Just one quick thing on this fight, and then one more fight with Aljamain and Assunção. But first, I would like to see, like I was saying, I would like to see, if Canal fight in the top 10. Let's see who we give him a guy, maybe a Vitor Belfort if he loses, which I assume he's gonna lose to Kelvin Gastelum, who's ranked number 10. But that's just I want to see our guy. Sam Alvey smiling into the top 10. But Jay, what did you think of our last fight we're talking about for Fight Night or UFC on Fox 23? Aljamain Sterling, Rafael Assunção.
Surprised, and Assunção still got it. And you were right. I have to say, you told me on the last podcast, basically not to sleep on him, and I did.
It was an odd fight though. I don't know what you thought, but Assunção wasn't trying to grapple at all. Neither was Sterling. They kind of wanted to stand and bang and counter, and that wasn't their game. I just figured it was gonna be a grappling affair, and that Assunção would get the better of Sterling in the grappling. He's just a tough gamer. Like I was saying before, I think that Assunção, after being gone for so long and fighting TJ Dillashaw, taking him to a decision was a silver lining. So I thought he would get Sterling. They just gave us a different fight. But being in mixed martial arts, you should win anywhere you can, and that's what Assunção did. But it was a close decision. It could have went either way.
Now, part of me was thinking Sunsao was doing that because he knew Sterling likes to stand and bang as well, and maybe he was just trying to, do the same thing. And you know how fighters do that sometimes.
Right.
And it's odd, and I don't think it should be done. I think this is a game of wins, and you don't want to have those L's on your record. So I would think that you would play to your strengths.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to talk about somebody soon enough that played to their strengths and still got a whooping. But yeah, that's certainly what I think on that fight. But Aljamain was ranked number 7, and Caraway, I'm sorry. Sunsao was number 4. Sunsao to me is just kind of in a holding pattern. I don't really know who you give him. I don't know if I really care too much. Just he called out Dominic Cruz, so we'll see what happens. So Jay, let's go ahead and move on to Bellator 170. That was not yesterday, but last week, of course, because we'll do some of the bigger fights right now. Tito Ortiz versus Chael Sonnen. Ortiz got the round 1 rear naked choke. Jay, this has some controversy already. Bellator is known for some fixed fights, or at least alleged fixed fights. I'm not going to go there unless Sonnen decided to somehow fix it. I don't think the promotion did it, but just to recap real quick, Sonnen, he went for a choke, like what was it, Jay? He fell to his back, got the guillotine choke, or tried for it, I think, and he didn't have his legs wrapped around Tito, so Tito popped his head out and just laid some ground and pound on him, and then got the choke himself, got a rear naked choke, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, I will say that Chael Sonnen looked terrible in that fight, all around, physically, in the fight, he just looked bad.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me because he went for such a good move with going to the to the guillotine, but he didn't wrap his legs when he could have. I don't think I would have went for that really that early on.
Well, let me ask you something: Are people out there calling fix?
Yeah, there's some people who are saying that Tito tapped Sonnen's hands that were around his neck to let him know to, like, basically this is when you give up or whatever. I don't know. It's weird. Jay, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either, honestly, because he looked bad. He looked way out of shape.
And I don't want to see him fight Vanderlei Silva or all these other people. His whole thing of I'm on a Legends ass kicking tour, that whole thing. I was ready to see him fight Vanderlei. I was ready to see him fight, all these other people. But now if he's going to come in like that, man, I mean, that was bad. Like you said, he looked bad. He looked out of shape. And
well, he's not using roids anymore. So that's another thing.
Oh yeah, roids, TRT, and he's older.
These older legends, quote unquote, that were using these roids and TRT and stuff back in the day, they just weren't the same after they stopped, and he's one of them. And I don't think it was a fake fight at all. I think it was just a bad fight for him. He's not in it to win anymore. He's just not.
He lost the position. He went for a move that was
it was terrible. That position he put himself into was just dumb.
Well, I mean, he was able to beat Shogun with that, but Shogun isn't going to be as top heavy as Tito is, and but it didn't land because he didn't have his legs wrapped around, and it's just an odd way to go, not knowing, because he knows how to finish that move whether he gets it or not, but his legs weren't, he didn't secure it with his legs, so but whatever. To me, losing to Tito hurts Bellator. Because I think that Tito was obviously on the way out anyway.
Yeah.
So you would want Sonnen to be victorious because now he's just a mouthpiece.
Yep, it was an ugly fight, and I really don't have much to say on it, Mike. It was that bad.
Yeah, that's good. Let's just move on to the real fight, the real main event that everybody thought, which was actually the co-main event: Paul Daly versus Brendan Ward. Daly round 1 KO. Your thoughts?
Nothing fake about that KO. I'll tell you that much. Oh man, if you guys have not seen that flying knee by Daly was out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming from Daly, Mike.
Oh, and me neither.
It was beautiful. Well placed. He couldn't do it any better.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about a little earlier about there's somebody who fought the way they should have been fighting and still got their noggin knocked out, and that was Brennan Ward. He mixed it up, he wrestled, he threw punches, and he still got knocked out by that spinning back fist, jumping knee combo. Which look, man, Paul Daly's the perfect fighter for Bellator, man. He's exciting. I don't know if we'll ever win the title, but you want these fighters, and I'm glad he got the win. Even though I like Brennan Ward,
Yeah.
I'd rather have Brennan Ward get the win. Let me just say that. But it's a guy who's getting up there, and if he's gonna have another shot, it's got to be soon.
Yeah, I think Daly, Page. I might be missing somebody else there, but those two guys for sure are one of their best. Two of their best, excuse me. I just think that both those fighters really always entertain. And, man, yeah, that was a great fight. And I have a bone to pick with whoever the announcer was that said it wasn't even close in that fight, because the fight was good. It was close. They were going back and forth. Ward was doing his thing, and then he got caught, and then you hear, not even close. And I'm sitting at home going, what are you smoking? What do you mean it wasn't even close?
Let me try and defend the guy, even though I shouldn't have to, because Christie said the same thing, and I thought the same thing as well. I think what he was trying to get at is that it didn't go all 3 rounds. It wasn't it's so close, Rocky 1 or Rocky 2 type fight. It was a round 1 KO, and so it wasn't close. But it came across stupidly.
Well, yeah, because you're basically
a close fight until the end.
Yeah, but you're basically talking about the fight as it is, as it stands,
right.
And it's only 1 round, so you call it as it was. You don't say not even close unless the guy wasn't landing any hits at all. Then I could see if Ward just looked terrible and Daly just put it on him, knocked him out. Then I could see that yell, but
to use the promotion's own fighters, I'll say Dantes Galval 2 and Dantes Warren.
Yeah,
those were fights where not even close. Yeah. So I certainly agree with that. Paul Daly just lost to Douglas Lima, who just got the belt back. So he needs maybe another win or two to get back to a title shot. Brennan Ward goes back. They always say to the back of the line, but nobody really goes to the back of the line, even in the UFC, but especially not in Bellator. The back of the line is like you win 2 fights. Let's be real. But it was just find the fight. You can always go to Bellator to their site, and they have all their fights the next day, and just watch it again, man. It was a great fight.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, man.
I guess we'll move on to Bellator 171. This card was in no way as good as 170, but still, Bellator put on a show, and we talk about the main event, co-main events, regardless. Melvin Gillard versus Chidi Nchikawani, I picked Nchikawani to get this fight, and man, he did way better than I thought he was going to do. But he destroyed Melvin Gillard. Gillard was saved by the bell in round 2 after a liver kick. But he had nothing. He had nothing all fight. I mean, to me, Nchikawani he's a contender right now.
Melvin Gillard, it looked like David and Goliath. Melvin's so small compared to him. It looked like a mismatch. That's what I kept seeing the whole fight. I'm like, this is not even right. I mean, whose older brother is that beating him up?
Right. I agree. The kicks that Nchikawani was landing were just brutal. I mean,
it kept him away. He did his thing with those kicks.
Yeah, and also he showed some takedown defense and some grappling a little bit when just for a little bit when Gillard would take him down a couple of times. But I will say you're right about the whole David and Goliath thing, because if you guys ever watch the weigh-ins, which I watch the weigh-ins for Bellator, if there's fighters I really like.
I saw it.
I think.
Yeah,
he looked straight up. Like,
yep.
That's
it was
how
like,
tall it was.
Yep. It was like looking up at a a big high-rise building.
Skyscraper.
It was crazy.
But Jay, I was riding Nchikawani for a little bit, and I picked him to win this fight.
Yeah, you did.
What do you think now watching this fight? Where do you think he can go? I realize Gillard, and he's not looked that great lately, but he is at least a name. Nchikawani does have a name now. What do you think?
See, you said it right there. I can't really base anything off this one fight because it's Melvin Gillard and he's on his way out. I don't really know. I don't really know where I see him going after this. Maybe it's Bellator, like you said. Maybe a couple of more wins and he fights for a title.
It's and that's where it gets to be rough. He's now 4-5-0 in Bellator. He's on, I believe, now an 8-fight win streak altogether.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
But we already talked about a couple of names in welterweight. In Michael, you brought up Michael Venom Page, and you've got, we just talked about Brendan Ward and Paul Daly. You've got Koreshkov. You've got Douglas Lima.
Now, I like Koreshkov. That fight with him, I could see that fight being a great fight.
Yeah. So and then Rory McDonald is going to be coming out pretty soon here in this year fighting. So welterweight is certainly
he's finally coming out.
To fight, that is.
Okay. Just want to get that straight.
I'm sure he's still friends with Mike Ritchie.
Okay.
Depending on what's going on there.
Yeah.
So
that's a good friendship.
Oh, of course, but that's all I pretty much have. I'm sorry. David Rickles versus Aaron Darrow in the co-main event. David Rickles, round 3 TKO. Man, it was just all Rickles all the time. Darrow had nothing on the ground and nothing on the feet. At least, he was kind of fighting back a little bit off his back with the kicks and tried to get Rickles in some submissions, but Rickles wasn't having it, man. The caveman, he did his caveman thing, got the win. He's back in, I wouldn't really call him in super contendership, but he's back now with the win. And back in the good graces of Bellator, 17-4, I believe now,
yep.
And I think the most wins in Bellator history.
Yeah, Rickles is a guy that's never been that guy to really be flashy, but he's always been a guy that's been entertaining. He's always brought it, and that's what I like about him. He may not always win, but he always brings his A game, and I like that about Rickles.
He's kind of like a Clay Guida.
Exactly.
Clay Guida was to march out with a dinosaur or with a club.
Yes.
Or a spear.
Yep. Rickles is the Clay Guida of the Bellator organization. That's perfect, man.
And what did you think of the weird entrance? It wasn't the caveman entrance. It was like everybody had paused and he walked by everybody, like looking at them, and then suddenly like they all came alive.
Kind of like it was kind of like the mannequin challenge thing. I think that's probably something that he was doing.
Okay, I heard that, Jay. Can you hip your boy to what that is? I guess
the mannequin challenge is just where people will pause in front of a camera and they'll just stop there motionless like a mannequin, and that's it. That's the challenge. Stand still.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I do that at work all day. So,
yeah, it's you know what? It's a millennial thing.
Okay.
So we should know about that anyway. Huh? No. Planking is old, but that was a millennial thing too. All that stuff that was popular, the ice bucket challenge, all that stuff was a millennial thing. Old people just got hip to it and decided to try it out,
Gotcha. Well, I'm done here with these fights, man. If you've got anything else to say too, man, we got to still wrap it up.
No, we can wrap this up and we can go into some news.
News Corner.
Awesome, brother. We got a short news thing here this week, but it is full and nice, even though it's short. Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson 2 is already a great fight in April at UFC 210. It's also accompanied by Chris Weidman versus Gegard Mousasi. Jay, that is already a selling point for me. I'm gladly giving over my $60 to watch Cormier Johnson 2 and Weidman Mousasi.
Yeah, I definitely am going to hand over that money to see my boy Anthony Johnson KO Cormier. Cormier's going to get the first his most brutal KO ever.
Now, I love me some Johnson too. Well documented as well. Love me some Weidman. So I've got two of my favorite fighters fighting. I still am going Cormier. I think he might be able to absorb another one of those shots, but he keeps getting hurt, this Daniel Cormier fella. And assuming he makes it to the fight against Johnson, I could, by the time we get to picking it officially, I could lean over more to Johnson, but I'll still go with Cormier. I hope Johnson knocks him out in the first. That would just be great.
Yeah,
I
I think it's going to be either the first or at least by the beginning of the second round. That's the latest. For me, it's partly because, yes, he is getting hurt more. It's because of his age. I think that he's getting older. Well, of course he's getting older, but I think he's slowing down. I think Cormier. 39, I think. Yeah, I think Cormier is slowing down, and I want to get something because I think the way I said it sounded as if he's gotten knocked out before, but he's never been knocked out. Cormier's never been knocked out, but I think this will be the first time.
His only losses to Jones, and Jones didn't knock him out.
Decision. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you think? Okay, yeah. So I also look at it though. What's the reason I'm not going over to Johnson quite yet is because also you talk about the age, but you look at someone like I know this might be just different time, but Randy Couture also started older, and the strength is the last thing to go. And so I think that Cormier still might be able to have the wrestling chops, the Olympic wrestling chops to move Johnson around. But
Anthony, that was 2 years ago when they fought, and he was able to get a rear naked choke on him, right?
Yeah.
I think this time, though, Anthony, we've seen him progress in his wrestling big time and his ground game. So I don't think he's going to get caught there. I don't. And he's a much bigger guy than Cormier. And I just think now that he has that wrestling and the grappling, I think he's going to knock him out. It's going to happen.
If it was anybody than a Olympic wrestler, maybe I'd be with you, but I'm still leaning towards Cormier. But what do you feel about Weidman Mousasi? The first thing I texted you, if you remember, was no love for my boy Weidman, man. He has nothing but tough fights, and after losing 2 in a row, they're giving him Mousasi.
Well, he needs, honestly, I think Weidman, these guys that are in the elite category like Weidman is, I think that they need to stay among the best, and they need to fight the best to keep their on their A game, Mike, so they can just be at their best. I think that's where they need to be. They need to fight the best.
Yeah, and he certainly is. He got the belt, defended it 3 times. So certainly, yeah, he is considered one of the best. And I was just thinking about it too. Who can they give him? And well, he lost to Rockhold. Romero's got to fight. Sousa's got to fight. Mousasi's number 5. Whitaker's fighting already. I forget who he's fighting, but he's fighting somebody. Silva's already fighting. Brunson's fighting. He already beat Vitor Belfort. Gastelum is already fighting somebody. But unless Robert Whitaker is not fighting somebody, I probably would have given him Whitaker. I think it would have been a great fight. But yeah, I certainly understand where you're coming from, man. I mean, because he's one of my favorite fighters, I just don't want to see him lose 3 times in a row, and that certainly could happen here. Mousasi is no joke.
Sometimes though, when they give fighters like that cans, so to speak, it makes it to where it's not that exciting to me. I'm like, okay, I know he's going to beat this guy, and I don't want to pay $60 for that. I want to see him fight somebody good. I think Mousasi is a great fight for him, and I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win in this fight.
Yeah, I think he's going to win as well. I think he's going to win by his wrestling and his takedown. He actually could finish Mousasi by rear naked choke or something like that. I don't think he will because Mousasi is so great on the ground. It's hard to finish Mousasi, of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I think if he can take him down and pound him out, that's the best way for him to get Mousasi. But I think it has to come from a takedown.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So you're going with Weidman preliminary?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're split on Cormier and Johnson, though I can move at any point. And okay, let's move on to something that is also pretty close. UFC Fight Night 105. A lot of stuff has been dropped for this one. Let's start off with something with just came down the wire a couple days ago with Stefan Struve being out with an injury against Junior Dos Santos. That fight's been scrapped. So they've taken Derek Lewis versus Travis Brown from UFC 208 and moved it over to UFC Fight Night 105 as the main event. So that's a great main event. Also, Johnny Hendricks is going to move to middleweight versus Hector Lombard, and Sarah McMahon versus Liz Carmouche. Those all 3 are going to be at UFC Fight Night 105.
Yeah, those are pretty good fights.
Those are good fights, yeah, for some free watching TV. Interested in Johnny Hendricks, what he's going to look like. Sarah McMahon, Liz Carmouche. This is something that I almost didn't put on the Facebook on our Facebook page because it's they both ladies have had some trouble. They got to the mountain, which was Ronda Rousey, lost and didn't look too great after that. But both of them have won 2 in a row, Sarah McMahon and Liz Carmouche. So this is going to be a really big fight for both of them. And then, of course, Travis Brown, Derek Lewis. Who doesn't want to see Derek Lewis fight?
Yeah, no, we were just talking about him earlier. Definitely want to see him fight. And maybe after this fight, they could set up that Ngannou fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically Derek Lewis's, Andrei Arlovsky fight. Really, you think about it.
Yep.
But I'd love to see them fight, but I don't want to talk about Ngannou and Lewis, but I don't want them to kill contenders. Jay and I have always talk about how the heavyweight division is it's old and just not that great. And these are two great fighters.
But here's the thing, though. Travis Brown has been working out with what's his name, Edmund.
No, he's gone. He moved.
Oh, he did finally.
Yeah,
okay.
It just happened a couple days ago. I forget where he's gone to, but he has moved on. I don't know what that means with his relationship.
That's good.
With the Fair Rousey, but
no, it's good that he's left Edmund though, because nobody needs to train with Edmund. He's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Terrible.
Terrible. Thank you, Mr. Barkley. Yeah, so I'm going to go Lewis over Brown, even though Brown is going to be moved to a different place. But I'm going Lewis. Are you going Lewis? Are you going Brown? You think he's going to switch it around or what?
I'm going to go with Lewis here. I think Brown hasn't looked that great in his last couple outings.
Yeah, he's fought really great guys, but it's not like I agree. It's not like he's looked at least decent fighting great guys. He just has looked horrible fighting great guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hendricks moving to middleweight to fight Hector Lombard, who of course has always had trouble with his weight as well. Hendricks, he said this is kind of do or die for him. If he doesn't look good at middleweight, he might be retiring. I think it's probably a good move for him. I mean, he's done it all. I mean, he didn't really defend the title technically, but I thought he beat Lawler in that second fight, but it was close either way. I'm rooting for Hendricks here. I've been a big rig fan for a while. Never been a Hector Lombard fan. He seems like an a-hole inside the cage, and he's an a-hole outside the cage, according to many people. So he's a little roid head, according to a lot of people. He's
always been hot-headed, and I never liked his antics inside or outside the cage.
Let's see, and then I talked about Sarah McMahon and Liz Carmouche already, so we'll see what happens there. Who do you want to pick there? I'm going with McMahon. I always like McMahon. She's looked really good. Yeah,
I think Carmouche is going to win that, but of course it's preliminary.
We're just so moving on. Second to last thing we'll talk about. Yes, people, the second to last thing we'll talk about. It's a short news couple of weeks. Rampage versus King Mo 2. That's going to be on March 11th at Bellator 175. Now, that first fight they had was controversial. Rampage got the nod. A lot of people thought King Mo won. I don't know if I thought he won or not, but it could have went either way. Jay, do you remember that fight? I think it was the pay-per-view, the lone pay-per-view they had.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I saw the fight, but I didn't watch it on pay-per-view. I didn't pay for it, is what I mean.
I saw it at Dave & Buster's, just like they wanted us to.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't paying for that either.
No,
so,
exactly.
But this time it's going to be at heavyweight, so that's going to be interesting. Rampage just got back from the Risen tournament where he fought open weight, and King Mo I'm sorry, not Rampage. King Mo just got back. Excuse me, guys. And Rampage he hasn't made 205 really in a while. I think when he fought Satoshi Ishii, I think he was 215 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with King Mo here, but to be honest with you, both guys have slowed down a bit. I think Rampage is doing this more for the money. I think King Mo's always been about the money. He'll say it, but I think he has more of respect in himself to want to win as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it's right now, though, I'd probably side with King Mo here.
Yeah. And if I could just do a little quick sidebar here, and Jay, jump in here anytime you want. Something I've been wanting to talk about too, and I'm not going to take very long on this, is how much I think Bellator has dropped the ball with their light heavyweight division. When they had Rampage and King Mo and Tito Ortiz, and maybe I'm leaving somebody else out, but how do we only get Rampage Jackson fighting King Mo? And now he's fighting twice. We never got King Mo fighting Tito Ortiz or Tito Ortiz fighting Rampage. I mean, we just have Rampage and King Mo fighting twice. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think they dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I get it. It's just that I really don't care for some of these older fighters anymore, to be honest, like Tito Ortiz. I just, I
I
didn't
know
care to see
that's
it
where you
anymore.
and I part ways. For me, it's like I want to see these guys fight if they're evenly, you know, they're both old and stuff like that, names and stuff like that. But I respect your
Yeah,
decision. Your thoughts on it.
yeah, the senior division is not my thing.
Yeah. Well, let's excuse me. Let's move on to the last thing of note here. Josh Thompson is now going to fight Patricky Pitbull in the co-main event of Bellator 172. That's the Fedor Mitrione card next month. Thompson's pretty much, if he beats Patricky Pitbull, he's going to get the title shot against Chandler. That's pretty much a gimme. It's a tough fight for me to pick, really. I would go Thompson normally, just really, you would think, because Patricky, he's off and on, always has been off and on in Bellator. But Thompson gets hurt a lot, and he fights sometimes not to his strengths. So, Jay, I'm gonna let you go first on your pick and see if maybe you can help me with mine.
I think when Thompson is on, he's on, and
Right,
he's
exactly.
a better fighter. So I'm going Thompson here. If he's healthy coming in, he's going to win.
But I think he can get knocked out by Pitbull, but that's the only way Pitbull gets it done. But like I was alluding to, and like you said, if Thompson's on his game, I think he takes him down. And
Thompson's got
he finishes him.
Yeah, Thompson's got a pretty good chin. He's been in some wars, man.
Yeah, and it's got to go sometime, and Pitbull could possibly do it. But I'm going Josh Thompson. Submission in round 3 or something like that. I guess preliminary, but that's coming up soon, people. That's certainly next month. So. But that's it for news.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the...
We pick 'em.
Well, the next fight coming up is UFC Fight Night 104 on the 4th, on February 4th. And after that, we've got UFC 208 on the 11th. Korean Zombie versus Dennis Bermudez is headlining. It's the co-main event for Fight Night 104. Also, we'll be talking about Alexis Grasso versus Felice Herrig. Those are some pretty good fights. That's pretty much your fight night fare, what you're going to get in most fight nights. And I'm excited to see Korean Zombie back, but he's got a good test in Dennis Bermudez.
Yeah, definitely. But it's, how long has he been out now?
3 years.
Dang.
He's been in the South Korean military because they have to sign up and do that. It's something they have to do, kind of like they do in Israel.
Yeah, same thing there. But the crazy thing is, it seems like so long ago. I forgot all about the Korean Zombie, and I love that guy. That guy's been, he was one of our favorites to watch for so long, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, WEC.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with the Korean Zombie just because I can't pick against him right here. I just can't do it.
Well, my friend, we don't often disagree, but this is time we will disagree. Don't be mad at me for picking against our boy, but he hasn't fought in 3 years.
Yeah.
Bermudez is number 9, and he's won his last 2. So because of that, I'm going to go with Bermudez. And he's a really good fighter too, man. I mean,
yeah, it's not a bad pick. It's just I can't go against the Korean Zombie, man. I miss that guy.
But I'm rooting for the Korean Zombie. He was given Jose Aldo what for, as the old folks say, until he busted up his shoulder in the title fight. His last time we saw him. So I'm going Bermudez, but rooting for the Zombie. Jay, doing this show now, we've been doing this for a year and a half. It so sucks every time I pick against a fighter I like. It's never easy, but I have to do it sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel, but
yeah, it's the same way, man.
So I never want to be right if I'm picking against my favorite fighter, of course. But I'm going to go, let's move on to Alexis Grasso versus Felice Herrig. Alexis Grasso just won her UFC debut. She's still undefeated, 4 TKOs, fighting Felice Herrig, veteran in the sport, obviously. I'll go ahead and pick first this time. And I'm going to go I'm going to go with Herrig. I'm going to go with I'm not. I'm going to go with Grasso. I'm going with Grasso. It's really tough for me to pick here.
I was about to boo. I was about to boo and hiss at you.
And I'll tell you why. Because Herrick, I think, has done enough, done all she's probably going to do. She's still a solid fighter. Just got a fight of the night performance in her last fight against Kaylin Curran. But Grasso is. I think she's pretty legit, man. I know you've been watching her for a while in Invicta. But I certainly like her spunk and her striking, so I'm going to go with Grasso.
Yeah, she's a true up-and-comer. She looks great, man. When she, just like Korean Zombie and who was it? Josh Thompson we were talking about. When she's on, she is on, man. She's on fire. On her feet, she's just explosive. I really like what she does. She's got a good ground game. Overall, I just think she's got the tools to be able to beat Felice Herrig. And I don't mean to sound like I'm like down on Herrig, but I just think she's a better fighter. Yeah,
and Grasso just beat Heather Jo Clark, which I would put probably just a little bit below, Herrig. But Herrig's going to be able to have the complete game to go against Grasso. Will it be enough against this young undefeated fighter? I just don't think it'll be enough because Herrick just goes. She's been up and down. 11-6 tells me she wins 2, she loses 1. So yeah, that's where I'm going with that. You want to go ahead and move on to UFC 208?
Yeah.
UFC 208. This is a fight card that to me was not that great. It's gotten better, thank God. But still, the top on the card is Holly Holm versus Germaine Durandamy for the inaugural women's featherweight title. No Cyborg. We all know she was popped for something. They haven't really come out and say what it is exactly, but she was popped. And before we make picks, I'll just run down the rest of the card. Anderson Silva versus Derek Brunson, Jacare Souza versus Tim Boetsch, Glover Teixeira versus Jared Cannonier, and Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller. That's one heck of a fight night card. It's a pretty good pay-per-view. Jay, what do you think overall now that we've got it all fleshed out with this UFC 208?
Honestly, I don't think too much of this card. It's not a great card for me. Honestly, it's just not. The co-main event and main event aren't that great to me. They're just not. I don't want to really see. I'm not a big fan of Anderson Silva now, and never really was at any time. But I could respect him at one time, big time. Right. I thought he was fantastic, but now I don't know. And as for Holly Holm fighting that Germaine Durandamy, I don't know who that is really. I don't. This is her first fight in UFC, or has
no. She's 6-3. She's won. I think she's 3-1 in the UFC. I know she's won her last 2. She just hasn't been.
Has she been on some of the undercards and stuff? Is that where she's been?
Yeah, like I think Fox Sport 1 and stuff like that.
Yeah, I may have seen her. I just don't. She's not recognizable to me. The name.
If you saw her face, if you saw her fight, you would know who she is. But let me before we get back up there, let me just go the next two fights and give you my piece. Jacare versus Tim Boetsch and Glover Teixeira versus Jared Cannonier. Those are 2 squash matches, man. And I know what's going to happen in these 2 fights. So to me, well, you're not too big into those other 2 fights. These 2 fights, Jacare Boetsch, Teixeira Cannonier. I feel kind of the way you feel about those other 2 fights, man. I kind of know what's going to happen, or I'm just not interested. But Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller, I think, is a solid fight. I think we'll get a good one out of that.
Yes and no. It's another fight that I think that I see. It's a case of I want to see one of these guys in some of these fights, but not fighting their opponent. Like I'd rather.
Well, yeah, because if Jim Miller beats Dustin Poirier, he just lost. Yes. And he's more viable as a contender. Jim Miller's already pretty much retired.
Same thing with Jacare and Tim Boetsch, Glover Teixeira. This card is just weird to me. It doesn't excite me. Is all I could say.
Yeah, and for those who don't know much about Jared Cannonier, I didn't know him either when we announced the fight. He is though 9-1 with 4 KO, TKOs, 3 submissions. So he's a pretty good finisher, but he's 2-1 in the UFC. Won his last 2. So lost his debut, but no big name wins. So I don't know if they couldn't get somebody better to fight Teixeira, but this guy at least is serviceable as an opponent. And let me give you my take though on Holly Holm, Germaine Durandamy. I'm picking Germaine Durandamy to win this fight, by the way. And Anderson Silva, Derek Brunson. If Anderson Silva can come in and actually fight, great. I think it'll be a great fight against Brunson. The reason I'm picking a 6-3 mixed martial artist over the former UFC women's bantamweight champion is not just because that Durandamy's won 3 out of 4 fights, but she's a kickboxer and like an undefeated kickboxer with like half of her wins by knockout. She's like 30 plus wins. I don't see Holly Holm wrestling. I don't see Holly Holm knocking her out.
Yeah.
I see Durandamy this all stand up, and I see Durandamy possibly knocking Holm out. I think that out of the two, because Holly Holm can make 135, because she's been the champ, and Durandamy is really well, she's had to fight at 135 also, but she's a tall girl, and I think that Durandamy is the better person to have as your champ. But that's just a holding place until Cyborg comes in, if they allow her to come in. But I'm putting my money on Durandamy, and I feel good doing it, Jay. I do.
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep this short and just say that I'm going to go ahead and go with Durandamy too, because of everything that you just said. Because that sold me. She's a kickboxer. You know that it's going to be a stand-up fight here. It's going to be a good one, though. If this girl knocks out a lot of people standing, I think she's going to do the same for Holm.
Yeah. How do you feel now that you know about Durandamy? Are you feel a little bit better about this card, or it's still pretty much ho-hum?
It's still ho-hum, to be honest. Okay. It really is. But I'll tell you this much. I don't think this card is going to sell a lot of pay-per-views. That's for sure.
I think that they got Anderson Silva quick on this card because he's still a draw, even though he hasn't won a fight in his last 4 fights or something like that. The Nick Diaz one was a no contest, changed to a no contest. So I'm going to go with Anderson Silva because he looks pretty damn good against Bisping over Brunson. Brunson just came off that loss to Whitaker. So I'm going to go with Silva on this one. I'm going Jacare by destruction over Tim Boetsch. He's going to take him down and choke him out in the first round. And Glover Teixeira, I'm going to go with him, probably knocking out, Kenny Ayer. But since we don't know much about him, it's, we just don't know. But I'm going to go with Glover. And I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller. So
yeah, I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier over Jim Miller just because of the age. And I think Poirier is a better fighter now than Jim Miller is right now.
Right.
Glover Teixeira, I'm picking him. Jacare, picking him too. So I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the exception is, I think Brunson is going to beat Silva.
Gotcha.
I'm
okay.
going to go, and I'm going to go with TKO round 3.
The reason I'm picking Silva over Brunson is I think Brunson's going to bring Silva out of his shell. He's going to force him to come out of his shell because Brunson's a bad dude.
Yeah.
And that's
why
I'm picking Silva.
That's why I say he TKOs him in round 3.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly a good possibility. It can go either way for me too. But I don't think Silva was afraid of Bisping, and that's why he kind of fought the way he did. Kind of like how we were talking about. I wouldn't say that Cody Garbrandt wasn't afraid of, or was it? Let me start that over. Basically, Cody Garbrandt, he played a little bit with Cruz because he didn't think he could, knock him out. Yeah. And that's kind of thing Silva did to Bisping, to his detriment.
The whole dancing in the ring and hand slapping, playing patty cake and stuff has just really turned me off of Silva. I don't care to see him fight anymore.
I'm in that boat as well.
Yeah, I'm over him, and I think Brunson's going to have none of that. He's going to say, take your patty cake and, take this beating.
I don't know if he'll do it against Brunson, though, but we'll certainly see, man. If he does it, that's to his detriment, man, because Brunson will knock him out with that, man.
Oh, and then if he gets knocked out with it, then, for me anyway, Silva becomes sort of a laughing stock, and it's like you did it with Weidman, and now here it is with Brunson, another bad dude, and got knocked out.
Well, it's today is the 28th, and all the big fights are done for the month. So let's go. I guess we can do the fighter of the month.
Fighter of the month.
Jay, if you like, I can go first, or
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this time I'll go first. Then fighter of the month, Paul Daly got a highlight KO, and most likely a title eliminator, but I didn't pick him. Jorge Masvidal gets TKO over Cowboy Cerrone to finally break into the top 10, but I didn't pick him. Chidi Njokuani, I said he was going to do what he did to Melvin Gillard, did it for three full rounds, proved he's a contender, but I didn't pick him. My Fire of the Month is Joe Lozon. The guy got the victory. No, he knows, we know that he didn't really win, but he said that on the air. I didn't win that fight. Marcin Held won. And then asked for Held not to be cut. That is my Fire of the Month because Joe Lozon,
awesome. Yeah.
You are not just a bad mofo in the cage. You're an honest guy, and that's why we love you.
That's awesome. I'm going to go with the opposite.
Marcin Held?
Opposite side of the spectrum. I'm going to go with Paul Daly. He honestly put on the best show this month, I think.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget also the he started off with a spinning back fist, which I know didn't land as well.
Oh no, but it was nice.
The combination was still beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice. So I'm going to go with Paul Daly for my Fighter of the Month. And you know what? Paul Daly is a guy I never thought I would pick for Fighter of the Month ever, Mike. So awesome. And
here's something also great about Paul Daly. Paul Daly is no longer talking about fighting Josh Koscheck because, I'm so happy about it. He's like, I've moved on. Josh, he's not going to fight, whatever.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's crazy. But, so, Mike, I guess that will wrap up the show. So go ahead and tell everybody about the Facebook site where they can find you.
Yeah, just go to MMA Think Tank Podcast on Facebook. Writing every day there, some long things, some short things. But starting on Monday, every Monday I do a fight week preview, and so I'll be previewing the Ultimate Fight Night 104. A little bit more stats, a little bit more stuff going on there, as well as any of the news that pops up. It goes up onto the Facebook. I write about it. Jay comes in, chimes in on it as well. To give his side of the story and everything. So, yeah, I mean, between shows, please come over to the Facebook and tell us what you think and tell us who you think's going to win some of these fights as well. And give us a call. Let us know, if we're right or wrong or who's going to win or who's not going to win.
Yep. And that number, of course, is 925-237-1296. Don't worry. That is a podcast line. You're not calling our home's phone number or a cell phone. That is our podcast line, so you can leave a message, and you might be on the show, depending on what you leave, because some people like to leave some weird messages, Mike.
Yeah, and I would like to hear more people call and leave their messages because that just does what we're trying to do with the MMA Think Tank, where we're just, kind of heading it. We're in charge of it, but we're all trying to watch this sport and talk about it and have fun with it. So.
Yep, definitely, man. So, anyways, that's it for the show. So we will be back in 2 weeks, Mike, and we will do another show then.
All right, you guys have a great day.